Please welcome the incredible English Black.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. I'm so happy to be here.
Thanks. And welcome to the show. By the way, is that a Kavari necklace?
Yes, it is a Kavari necklace. I came here to represent the Kavari.
Yeah. So Kiki's a friend, such a sweetheart and an incredible designer. But yeah, I love her jewelry and her stuff. Well, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk about this. I mean, I want to say vulnerable topic. This like kind of scary topic, but I feel like it needs to be addressed for many reasons. Mm-hmm. But tell us a little bit about where your magic lies and what you do.
Well, so my magic and what I do, I would say that when we're looking at a before and after, my favorite piece of what we do is the shift in a woman's gaze. And you can see in the before, that's their baseline. But in the after, there's something about the gaze that just conveys confidence. And it's like they're holding their chin up a little higher. It's a transformation on the inside. It is on the outside, but the transformation, the real work is really what's happening on the inside. And that's magical.
So, I mean, it's an interesting topic because I talk openly about getting Botox or versions of it, about having rhinoplasty. And I always thought there'd be so much hate that comes my way because I elected to do these things for myself. But I do people ask me, what was the thing that made me the most confident in the last few years? Because I'm showing up online more, I'm like speaking on stages more. That prior to getting a nose job, I was really shy because I didn't want people to see my profile. I didn't want them to see my nose. And so I didn't like speaking on stages. I didn't like recording reels or shooting videos. And now I'm like, bring it. And, some people will think, oh, well, you're beautiful anyway. Why would you need to get that done? I've had that. I know. And I get that. And sometimes it's like a nicety to say that.
Yes.
But there's so much more to it than that, because it's easy to say you're already beautiful, but people don't know the stories that we're telling ourselves when we look in the mirror or when we do a thing that makes us feel insecure because of a way that we look.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, what do you think is the difference between confidence and being in control? And how do we know when we have crossed that line?
Oh, I love that question. So, controlling is a great way of saying it's trying to force outcomes. We've got our mind's eye. It's black and white thinking. We've got our mind's eye. We've got to have, so in the context of aesthetics, let's say I've got to have my forehead smooth. I've got to have cheek filler because I feel like I look tired, or I've got to have chin filler. In this context, it would be a patient dictating the treatment that they need because maybe we read it on Google, or maybe Susie down the street had the same thing. Whereas confidence is more open-minded, and it's being open to possibility. It's saying, what is the best plan for me? I may not know the answer. I may not be the expert. But the point with the confidence is that when you look in the mirror, we have aligned the inside with the outside.
Right. And that's the interesting thing, because before I had my surgery, after I had my surgery and I was healing and I could see the difference, I think something so profound happened, is that I saw a version of me that other people had already seen. But I needed to do the thing in order to believe that about myself, because there was something about me that I hated my nose. Now, it had to do with a lot of bullying in middle school. But I thought that was like the only thing people looked at on me, on my face, on my body. Right? Yeah. I think like they're just looking at my nose and how big it is.
I call it the Funhouse mirror.
It's called what?
The Funhouse mirror. It's like, it's from Greece, right? When they go look in the mirror and it's all wavy and there's parts of your body that are distorted. And while that seems glaring to you when you look in the mirror, most people aren't really noticing that. It's not always true, but for most of us gals, it's a very common thing.
Oh yeah. Because I see some women, and we'll talk about this too, that from my perspective, they check all the boxes of what hits the beauty standards. And they look in the mirror and like, I need to fix the chin and like this drooping nose. And I think, oh gosh, you don't need to fix anything, girl, because I see in that person what they have yet to see in themselves. And confidence work can start without having to do anything.
Yes.
Then here's where this is where your expertise comes in. Because you can do all the work in the world, and sometimes there are things that you need to get done. And that's
empower us. Well, and the reality is that at least as an aging human, which we all are, and it's like we get on this growth curve and we keep growing until we're about 25, 26 years old. So everything's getting better and better and better and better until it's not. And it's not that it's not getting better, but it's not optimizing anymore. It's on it from a beauty standpoint, from a physical standpoint, at least what we're looking at face to face. It's a very slow decline from that time after. So it's really the things that happen to women tend to be masculinizing. They tend to not be flattering. And that doesn't really line up with how we've lived most of our life, being told that we're pretty, being feminine, when the changes that are happening to us are masculinizing. So it makes perfect sense as social creatures that we would want to look our best, but it happens in different ways in different faces. So it's easy for some people to look at other people and pass judgment because their experience has been completely different.
Yeah.
But if you're a woman that's gotten particularly masculinized, these changes are life-changing. And you just feel so much better about yourself. I mean, not to get too nerdy, but we talk about something called the triangle of youth. It's relatively predictable that in an aging face, the volume gets more bottom heavy and kind of shifts forward. It's like a right side up triangle. In a youthful face, the volume is up here and tapers down. So really great cosmetic treatments, we can't put a finger on them because those are the qualities they kind of line up at. And none of us are looking at other faces and saying, oh, is she a right side up triangle or upside down triangle? It's really that we're like, wow, I can't really tell why she looks so rested or why she looks so refreshed or less concerned. And those are the hallmarks. And we intuitively know that as social creatures, And yes, beauty standards change, but where they are right now, it is what it is. But when we align that, we feel it on the inside intuitively, and it changes everything. The trick is when we are seeing things that aren't there, that hungry ghost. And that is when hungry ghost is a Buddhist term of a need that will really never fulfill. And that's when we know we're in trouble, is when we're looking, and nothing's ever good enough. Those patients, if you feel the sense of that, or you're shifting providers, there's a 98% chance in research done by a very prominent injector that you'll never be happy by anybody's treatments.
So that is deep inner work.
Yeah. You got to look inside, and confidence, I believe that confidence is really, we all talk about confidence broadly speaking, but by definition, I do believe that it is from external validation, right? And worth is really it's inside work. So if we're splitting hairs, I do believe that if for many women, and they come in talking about it, that it is believing that we are worthy of deserving to feel a certain way, and that there's nothing wrong with that or vain with that, because the societal message, it's contradictory. It's don't care about how you look, but let's all talk smack about you when you are maturing and you're not looking your best.
That, or it's like if you were born with pretty privilege, then you're already classified as probably dumb or lazy.
Yes.
And then if you don't have that privilege, then you should try to at least look your best, but don't have surgery because that's cheating. But still, you need to try to look as pretty as the prettiest person. At one point, because I remember it took me 30 years to make the decision to get my nose done, because I just kept going through the loops of all the stories and things that people are going to say about me. I feel like 30 years is a pretty long time to ponder.
It is a long time to ponder.
Yeah. And I finally made the decision. I'm just doing it for me. I'm doing it for me because it's something that I've been wanting to do, and nothing else, but to correct it and just to make it match my face more.
And it's beautiful.
And it's great.
I've seen those before. I'm sure it was beautiful too, but you're beautiful
It was
now.
there. It was definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so, I mean, the point of this conversation is really about this, like, talk about confidence. Because for me, I lacked the self-esteem to get on stage, to give a talk. I lacked the self-esteem to stand in front of a group or to, like, I could record these podcasts on video, but I would never turn my face sideways because you would see the profile.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't think that any matter of inner work would allow me to accept my nose for what it is, because this is me.
Yes.
And I went through this for years, and I was like, Lady Gaga's the best because she's like pro big nose, and there's a lot of beautiful, like, bigger noses out there. But I'm like, I want this for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's where, like, you come in, because I feel like you have such a great message about, like, you do you.
It's so important, right? I mean, it's the only way we're ever going to sleep well at night, right? Because all of that, what we're talking about, comes from the desire to please or impress other people, right? But that there will always be a differing opinion, always. And one of my favorite lines that I use with patients, if you get 5 different providers in a room, you will get 5 different opinions about whatever it is that you quote unquote need. But at the end of it, so then you feel body piled on. But at the end of the day, whatever it is that you saw, and I'm getting chills talking about it, but whatever it is that you saw when you looked in the mirror, you are still going to go home and think about that and have whatever it is your provider told you quote unquote need. So yes, there is a fine line that we navigate, because while we don't want to chase our tails and get all caught up in minutia, it's like we do want to, and it doesn't mean that we don't treat a face holistically. We start with what the ultimate goal is, because that is where the ultimate satisfaction, and as you said, the confidence and just knowing that something helps you feel better.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, I had, like, the most perfect question for this segue. Oh, what do you think? Because how long have you been in this industry for now?
Well, I mean, truthfully, I'm 50, but I've been working in dermatology since I was 21 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you've seen the evolution of techniques and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If cost wasn't an issue,
Mm-hmm.
how many more people do you think would actually go and get the thing done?
Oh, that's a great question. If costs were not an issue, well, here's what I would add. Would other people know how much they spent? Because there's this element of judgment that comes in that, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent that much. I actually did a poll on my Instagram stories, and this is relating to your question indirectly. So I listed the number of syringes of filler that I can remember having in my face in my life. And I was like, I want to know how many of you think this is too much. Maybe it's a lot, but it works. And no way, you're all good. And there were 2 or 3 women that were like, yeah, it's way too much. And I thought, but why? I don't think I look like I've had stuff done. I mean, I don't think I look 50. I don't know how old I look.
Right. But, no, you definitely don't. No.
But what's the problem? That's like when people say, I don't want a lot. Well, what is a lot to you?
Well, like, even so what I'm trying to get at is, what is the biggest barrier for people? Because like, I think about this, I actually look at this as the same way as somebody who wants to lose weight. Mm-hmm. Other than like the more energy and the feeling good, but like, say it's just that extra like 10 or 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. Why do they want to lose that? Everybody that I know wants to have a fit body.
That's a great point.
Six pack. They want the nice cut, and they can go to the gym, and there's no shame in that. They can eat well, and there's no shame in that.
You just said the word. See, I actually, you could fight me on it, but I don't think it's a money thing. Because like you said, I mean, you could argue with somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of money, and I used to be one of those people, that you can find a way to eat healthy and lose weight if that's what you want. Yep. I think it comes down to a shame and a worth issue. And being judged for caring. Being judged for caring is what I hear from most women.
Being judged for getting something done.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's where that judgment comes in, because it comes back down to the same everything in life trickles down to the same fear.
Yeah.
Because there's only two real fears that we have as humans. Fear of falling. What was the other fear?
Failing.
Of abandonment. Fear of abandonment. And abandonment, people are like, Renee, what do you mean? Like, you're getting Botox. Well, how does that strike up somebody's fear of abandonment? Because there's the person who is maybe intrigued by it. Then there's a person who's already doing it and they can afford it. And then this person who just poo-poos the whole idea for whatever reason. And I'm just like generalizing right now.
Sure.
Will despise the person who's getting it done because there's part of them that wants it done too.
Yes.
Right. So like, if we're already like exfoliating and putting on creams, heck, we wear makeup for the same goddamn reason.
I say filler is semi-permanent makeup. That's all it is.
Yes. So I'm not trying to encourage people to go and get like nose jobs and injections.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that these opportunities exist.
100%.
And you work beyond just injecting people because you talk about like, what do you call it? There's a word. It's the confidence, curated confidence
podcast,
right?
Yeah.
And you say high achieving women. There's a question here that I wanted to ask you. Oh, you talk about high achieving women becoming the strong one, and there's identity in all of this too.
100%.
Can like the identity that's weaved into like the popular high school chick?
Yep.
Right, and like. We think of her like I know those girls. I can remember those girls, the Carrie, the Kristen, and I look at them now and I was like, oh gosh, it's kind of like the kid who was a really, really, really good soccer player when they were young created this identity of being the best soccer player on the field. So they get into like, I don't know, high school, to maybe go to college and they play soccer, and there was so much possibility into their greatness, but because they were labeled great when they were so young, they didn't try.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't try.
Peak in high school.
Yeah. But the point in this is just how, like, I'm not for or against. I'm kind of like, do you. But you have this magical way of approaching this. And tell us all about, like, the confidence thread in all of this, too. And I'd also love to know if you've ever encouraged people not to do certain treatments.
100%. I tell people no. I mean, regularly. I just told a woman the other day, I was like, I would love to do this for you. I'd make more money, but it's just not what you need, and it's not going to get you the goal that you want. So, but as far as like the confidence and the way that we do this, I don't think that everybody needs it either. I don't think you have to do it. I think I encourage people, anyone, to embrace whatever it is that's best for you. For some of us, that happens to be appearing a certain way, having a certain type of skin quality, having a certain amount of lines or not. I have some patients that don't want their faces really to move very much. And there's only so much we can do about that. And then I have other patients that want a lot of movement. And it's just really, this business is actually about managing perception. The perception of yourself and how other people see you. But the sweet spot, again, is really what we're fostering is self-trust. And that you can trust yourself into making good judgments and to trusting good people and doing what will work best for you. And when people say, well, is this going to get me what I want? Well, I don't know. Is it going to get rid of these lines? Yeah, it's going to help. It's going to help a lot. What the duration, or for some people that they've been there a long time, yes, it might take you a couple of consecutive treatments. It just depends. But the way that we start here is you have to start with an assessment and a consultation. Any clinic that will quote you prices over the phone over something a result that you're calling them, you say they want, that's probably not the best fit, because if they can quote you, how do they know what your problem is? How do they know how do they know? They don't. They have to see you, and an accomplished provider is going to insist on it. Yes, it will take more of your time, but that's time well spent, because if you spend the time being educated, learning, figuring out what it is you actually want, because unless you went to school for this, I mean, it took me 20 years before I felt confident and good about practicing on my own. And I probably could have done it much sooner, but I really wanted the safety of collaboration. I still have it. It's just now that we have technology, it's just very different than it was when I first started injecting. But it's a whole journey. And the best before and afters that we have, the happiest patients that we have, they tend to be people that have been, and it's easy for me to say this, I realize this, but they do a peppering of things over time. And that's because our faces don't change in one way or in one place. And that is ultimately, it's like taking care of your body. It's like taking care of your health. Taking care of your skin and your face is really no different. We don't ever stop. People do tend to get frustrated, like, why does it last longer? Why isn't it permanent? It's like, well, this upside to not being permanent is what if you didn't like it?
Yeah.
And you'd be stuck.
Yeah.
No?
Yep. Oh my gosh. So, okay, we're gonna move on because I want to come back to this.
Yes. Yeah. The strong part. I didn't go there, but
yeah, I'm really curious about what you feel, especially like coming into 2026. The theme for the Pink Girl Project Summit this year is all about being seen.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the women online that I follow that seem like very confident, they have perfect skin, they have like everything is just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely this element of like, maybe they use filters, but I doubt it, of like keeping up.
Mm-hmm.
And the keeping up, and you just hit the nail on the head when you said that the people have been doing stuff over time and there's like this fear of starting too late.
Yeah.
But there is this like trying to wrap confidence around being seen online. And part of what we do is we encourage everybody and anybody to like share their voice, share their perspective and the opinions. And I know there's women who just don't feel confident in their own body.
Oh, yeah.
So like, what do you tell these women? Because it's not about going to get the Botox, right? Like the work begins before you get the work.
No, it absolutely does. And a lot of it begins with self-inquiry, with asking yourself, it's the same reason, why we feel like we might need a drink, why we go to food when we're feeling anxious. What is the need on the inside? And I don't directly ask people that, by the way. I do ask them, though, more open-ended questions about, well, what might be going on? And I'm not necessarily saying we're going to figure this out together, but I am using a coin phrase, being a lighthouse to say, let's figure out what we can figure out together that is going to best serve you. And while I'm not a therapist, I'm not a certified therapist, I have become an excellent listener over the years.
I can imagine.
And that is where a lot of that being seen starts with having other people truly see us. So while putting ourselves out there online is helpful, I don't believe that anybody can truly do this if they haven't had other people truly see them. And that's where a lot of this magic is that I didn't think of to mention earlier, but is, I see my patients. It can get very emotional in here some days. And a lot of my patients have seen me. I mean, I'm no vault unless it's private.
Yeah. I think about the moment that I was like so pushing me getting rhinoplasty. And the first time I brought it up to my husband, like I just needed him on board. I did not care about anybody else. I just needed him on board. And he was like, absolutely not. Nope, I'm not supporting that. And I mean, obviously I can go and do whatever I want. But as like, I just really like, I felt this need. And I kept talking about it. And I was seeing doctors behind his back to get like consultations and just figure out like how long it would take, how much it would cost, all this stuff. And so I finally found the doctor that I liked. And after like 5 years of talking about it, not ad nauseum, but like enough, I sat down with Dan. I was like, I really want to get this done.
Yeah.
And I really want you to be supportive. And so can we talk through why you keep saying no? Because I never asked.
Communicator. What a novel way to approach it.
Yeah. And so he goes, honestly, Renee, the reason why I said no, because I was worried about everything else you'd want to do. Like facelifts. And I was like,
yeah, that's typically the concern. Men are afraid that they're going to lose their wives.
Yeah. I said, no, I just want this like a little bit smaller. And he's like, fine, then let's do it. Let's do it and change my life. But we're talking about this narrative about like this culture in our society that demands youth. Like we want just like slow youth. Let's go back in time, anti-aging. But we tend to shame the women for using tools to maintain it or to create it. And we talked about this. It's like you can't.
Yes.
You're if you're the pretty privileged girl, then you must be dumb and boring. But if you're not, then there's like you can never win this game. But in your experience, what is the most dishonest part of the natural beauty narrative?
Oh, the most dishonest part about the natural beauty narrative is that we're all on an even playing field. And that, there's an influencer on Instagram I'm thinking of, I can't think of her name, and it doesn't matter, but this woman has a lot of melanin, i.e. she tans, she has a darker skin type. She's stunning. She looks like a supermodel. She was born that way. And even if she spent a ton of time in the sun, which is what ages all people the most, but the most fair of white people have it the hardest. The more melanin you have, the better you tend to age on the outside, unless you did something stupid for your health, like smoking or did shift work or really terrible illness or something like that. These people have an advantage sometimes, and they speak as if everybody else should feel the same way. But if you're a redheaded, blue-eyed woman and you spent a ton of time out in the sun, guess what? You're not going to age like this beautiful silver-haired woman with tons of melanin. You're just not.
Oh my gosh, there when you were deconstructing so many things. There's like, it's genetics, it's culture, it's where you live.
Yes, it's all the things. And that is why this is the hardest business there is to scale. Because you're not only dealing with human variability, well, that is the ultimate variability, but it's not just a human body on the inside, like what physicians treat. We're talking about external anatomy, muscle movement. We're talking about volume loss that happens over time. And the variabilities are your genetics. They are your nutrition. They are the amount of sun that you have. And the variabilities are infinite. They never end. Then, not to complicate things, which the plastic surgeon's narratives these days are just absurd, but there's never any context about someone's health background. Like, if you have autoimmune disease, it's harder to make collagen, so you might not respond to certain treatments as much. Or the most frustrating conversation I have regularly is, well, my friend gets 20 units of Botox. Why do I need 75? And it's like, well, your friend might not move. Or is she 20?
Yeah, there's also that. Oh, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, so to standardize things is near impossible because of the skin tones, there are what's called 6 different Fitzpatrick skin types. So, 1 being the most fair, 6 being the darkest of dark. That is one factor. And then there's all of the other crazy minutia that makes every single human a human, same as our fingerprint.
So when I was talking to my plastic surgeon about surgery, and I was just curious about how long it would take me to recover. And he's like, oh, based on your skin tone, your bone structure, it's about 2 years. He goes, but it could take up to 5 or 6 years for some people. I go,
wow.
What? Why?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that people of Indian descent have thicker skin and more softer nose bones. And so it actually makes it more difficult for them to do the reconstructive surgery, and it takes them longer to recover.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No.
I thought everyone was the same recovery time.
No. And then the beauty standard for each ethnicity is different. The ethnicity of the position of our nose ratio to our chin is different for an African-American woman than it is for a Caucasian. The proportion of lip size is the standard of beauty. And by the way, I don't ascribe to that. But the problem is if you buy into that standardization, then everybody starts to look the same.
Yeah.
Where's the confidence in that? Who wants to be generic?
That's true. It's a good point.
Not you.
Yeah. Well, there's certain things I look at myself in the mirror. I'm 44 now. I remember reading
babe.
I'm such a babe. I know. I look 29. I know. But I remember reading the study and I'd have to find the study. They interviewed people over the age of 60. So I think it was between 60 and 90 years old. If they recall at what age they start to feel old. And I think it averaged out to be like 43 years old was when people started to like really notice the things. And so sure enough, I was 42 when I read the study and I'm like, oh God, one more year of youth. And then literally one day I looked in the mirror and I could see it. And where I first saw it was how I was losing the elasticity in my skin around my knees. And it's almost like knee skin was like flapping over my kneecaps.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I had the same experience in my early 40s, but I was running and I looked down and I was like, what is happening to the skin?
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, it's jiggling.
And the craziest thing in that moment, I literally thought I was the only 43-year-old woman experiencing that.
Yeah.
Because we look on social, we look at our friends that are younger, and we look to them and admire in them what we don't have. And so I'm like looking at these women's knees. I'm like, you guys have such beautiful, youthful knees.
Yeah. But comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. We can't do that because we all are given different attributes. And, you know, the same people that you're complimenting their knees, they probably think you have the most stunning eyes. You do.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's easy to pick those things out, but that is not helpful. That is a confidence stealer. It's to look at someone else and say, I can't, I won't, I shouldn't. It's just different. It's just different.
Yeah, because like our culture has created these like standardized beauty things you have to like check off. And it's an impossibility for most people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, some people are just naturally sure. But I think it's crazy that we try to subscribe to these standards. And then when we actually do the thing to get us closer to feeling a certain way, then we get shamed for it. So you can't win. So you may as well just go do the thing you want to do.
I know, exactly. I know. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, we all do want to be seen and we want to feel important. Who doesn't want to feel important? That's not a shameful desire. That's a human one, right? And to get compliments. Who doesn't like a compliment?
I know. I mean, what's the best compliment that you get these days?
Well, one of my favorite ones recently was I get actually when I come to see you and I've had a rough day and I leave feeling better. Those are like my favorite.
And it has nothing to do with how you look.
No. No. And one of my very favorite patients, I love this woman dearly. The first time she came to see me, she had just lost her husband. She's not old. And she was a sad, sad puppy. And she just wanted to feel better. She wanted to not look sad. She wanted to not look tired like the nights she'd had crying. And she's like a different person and a beautiful testimony to just taking care of yourself. But this person is like, you can't ever quit. Every time she hugs me, she brings her sister to me from across the country. Oh. I mean, I'm getting chills because it's like the biggest compliment to entrust someone with your family, right?
I know. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head about taking care of yourself. So there's a lot of things that we can avoid doing to age because it really comes down to, especially for women like you and I, it's about aging. Mm-hmm. But where does the inner work begin in this? Because I think about the woman who feels so pressured to like look a certain way and not age. But there's like the most important work is the confidence work. It's that
it is
the worthiness work. But we think, we're just going to go under the knife really quickly. That'll solve all our problems.
That's right.
But then we just keep reaching for more. So what advice do you give those women?
Well, so I'm working on a book right now that focuses on how we have always had everything we've ever needed inside us already. And that can be both very liberating and very terrifying at the same time. And it sounds so simple, but it really does take making the simple decision that you are worthy and that you can believe in yourself and that is a worthy cause. It's literally that simple of making a decision. But once you've made the decision, we actually, neurons that fire together, wire together is a saying that we use in medicine all the time, meaning that the more we think a thought, the more easily we have the thought. So if you think negatively all the time, we think more negatively. If you focus on positive thinking, you focus on that. So it's like if you want to be woo, you have a mantra. Or if you want to be inspirational, I have affirmations that I say. But it literally begins, you could do mirror work. Freaking Oprah does mirror work. If it's good enough for her, it's good enough for us,
Yeah.
But literally looking and talking to yourself in the eye and saying, I see you and you are beautiful. It's uncomfortable at first.
So a couple stories here. When Mel Robbins' book, The High Five Habit, came out, I did that where essentially you walk up to the mirror and you give yourself a high five.
Yes.
And I did that, but I one-upped it by not even giving myself a high five, but looking in the mirror, and that reflection was me in real life was me now, but the reflection was the younger version of me. And I was pumping her up for the day. It's Renee, you got this. You can do this. And then the other day when we're training for some weird races around here, and I've been on the treadmill a lot. And it was an early morning, and I get so bored running on the treadmill. Yeah. And so watching the Peloton instructor, and I happened to look up and I caught myself, the reflection of myself in the window. And then I was I just looked her in the eye and I was keep going, keep going. It's I was chasing something, but it's almost there was a coach in my ear saying, you got this, you got this, you got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just those little moments of confidence. But you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to be willing to do the work, to create that internal happiness. I remember a couple of years ago, my husband and I went away to a friend's house to do some deep couples therapy and just cry it out. And I just had the most beautiful experience, but very raw, and it was exhausting. Yeah. But it's almost I had admitted to something that happened to me, traumatizing that happened to me in college, and I finally just let it out. It's almost you talk it out of existence.
Yeah.
And before bed that night, I remember just feeling so much lighter because I did the work and I shared the story, and I looked in the mirror, and I remember looking in the mirror and I was holy crap. And I ran back out into the bedroom and I said to Dan, I look different. And he goes, you do.
I love that.
And I did not
do a whole other podcast on this work, right?
Yeah. And it was the letting go. It was the letting go of something that kept consuming me. And what it does is it forces you to be just a naturally happier person.
It does.
The happiest people are the most beautiful people.
They are. And I think for a long, long time, I was very ashamed of how I grew up. I was ashamed of some circumstances that were beyond my control. And I was ashamed of choices that I made as a result of that. But a good friend, when I was in the very darkest, lowest point of my life, where I did not think that life was worth living anymore. And I got on the other side of it. And my friend said, it's actually part of AA work, but it's really where you make a list of everything you've ever been ashamed of every wrong you've ever thought you've made. And it's actually one of the most excruciating things. Right. It was so painful. And it was even more painful to read it to someone. Oh. But I did. And as you said, I was so much lighter. And the more I have found, and even as an adult, as a 50-year-old woman, it's taken me the last 12 months to even repeat that little piece of my life to get comfortable with it. And I mean, and we could talk more about it, but it's taken all that time to speak it out, to journal about it, to be like, you know what? Look at all the things you've been through. And you know what I say when we take a woman's photo and they will immediately start bashing themselves, which is easy to do. But I'm like, hey, this woman has gotten you far. We are going to appreciate her. Let's look at her. We appreciate her. Let's love on her. And then let's also be really pumped for where we are right now. How awesome, But it just takes speaking it, and then it takes away its power when it's not a secret anymore. And then you hear other people's stories, and then you're like, then you really start to find your tribe.
It got me thinking that anger is ugly. Because I think about, like the people that we end up being drawn to, end up becoming like those charismatic people, the happy people. You know, at first glance, they might not be the best looking people in the world, but over time, it's like you get to know them and they just get prettier or more handsome because happiness
Yeah.
is what shows up. So in that moment when I looked in the mirror and I ran outside into the bedroom, I said, I look different. It was because I got rid of something that was dragging me down.
Yeah.
And
100%.
you could see it in my face.
Well,
It was crazy.
we're wired for negativity. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what has helped humans evolve. So it actually, and especially for some of us, I mean, I have a child that takes a lot more coaching to think more positively than my other two. And it can, and then you body pile on this, that life gets hard sometimes. And it takes a lot of intention and effort sometimes to think that way. But it can just take intention or writing about it. Or even if you don't feel it, you say you feel happy. You smile. Actually, smiling sends messages to your brain that you're happy, even if you're not.
Right.
Try that.
100%. So let's all practice now. If you're listening, let's just smile right now.
Yeah, everybody
driving your work. Smile because it's like the happy hormones.
That's right. That's right. I have to throw in a little plug for Botox, but they have studies that statistically, when we use it for frown lines, your brain's not getting the message that you're frowning, that you're angry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So statistically, those people are a little happier.
That's crazy.
Little
like subtle things like that change everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. This really is like a happiness and a confidence episode.
Yeah.
In an unlikely place.
Exactly.
So here's my thoughts. To start wrapping this up is if you're considering treatments, if you haven't had anything done before, I would start by doing some of the inner work. And what does that mean? For me, it means journaling. It could be writing a paragraph, a sentence. I use a 5-minute journal, but really about why this is bugging you, why that thing is bugging you. Because this practice you can use in other parts of your life too.
Yep.
For me,
100%.
nose job. For me, when I get my dysport in my forehead around my eyes, I do that, and I'm not ashamed to talk about I get that work. Everyone here in the office knows. The other day, one of the 18-year-old kids was like, Renee, where are you going? I'm like, I'm off to my Botox appointment. He's like, oh, like, no, I'm being real. We tend to have to keep this a secret because we think that we're just naturally youthful as we age. Mm-hmm. But there comes a point where all the work's going to just give itself away. And so why not be honest with yourself?
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, and I love that. I love journaling. And I resisted journaling for the longest time. Silly enough, because I didn't like my handwriting. Also, because I was so impatient and I couldn't get my words out fast enough. But turns out that's part of the reason that journaling is so powerful, because it forces us to slow our brains down. But I've also heard people use voice notes for that. Yeah. I am a huge believer in meditation, and that's hard for I have a lot of friends that are like, never. Try journaling.
Yeah, I used The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And part of this is you have to write 3 pages of conscious stream of thought. So you just sit down and you just every morning write blah, 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 blah. And when you first do it a couple times, it's awkward because you're writing about how warm your coffee is and the weird. And then all of a sudden it starts then you start unlocking those next levels.
Yeah.
And and you end up giving yourself therapy.
It's true.
Looking at it.
It's so true. And I have 3 children, and doing that, journaling on every morning has been a massive challenge, but I have managed to do it every weekend for the last 13 months now, 15 months. And it has been a game changer. Just like you said, the brain dump, sometimes it's just like, what am I talking about here? But it has been some of the biggest unlocks. I would add that if you have been wise to AI and you talk to ChatGPT a lot, that I have learned that if I get stuck or I find something, I'm like, I don't understand why I feel this way, or this is a little confusing, I will hash it out with ChatGPT. And not that ChatGPT is always right. It doesn't always resonate, but most of the time it does. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
It gives you a little nudge of clarity.
Yes.
It's exactly. Oh, okay. I'm not overthinking this, or I don't need to overthink this.
That's right.
And I know. I just love how, and I think it's a she. So I think she sides with me all the time. I love that. It's like my little cheerleader in my pocket.
Right.
I love it. Okay. So any parting thoughts?
Well, I would just encourage you to do you, and whatever it is that you need to live your best life, that is what you need to do. And on that note, is that when we all have a habit to complain about our bodies, about our faces, but none of us are getting younger. And what I love to think about is that in 5 years and 10 years, you will wish for the face, for the body that you have right now. Unless, of course, there's some massive thing. But from an aging perspective, we will have kinder eyes. I look at myself in a 29-year-old photo when I was in the best shape of my life, and I was also the most unhappy. And I have so much more kind eyes for the girl in that body and that look, and so much love for her. And it's so important to find that for yourself, so that, because none of us are laying on our deathbed wishing for anything other than love.
Yeah. Not extra Botox.
Not extra Botox. It might be that I'm glad if that's what it takes for you to feel like you are taking care of yourself, then yes.
Yeah, but the inner work is where it all begins, because that's the through line for everything.
It is the through line. None of the other stuff counts, because the people, like, you know what I thought of? And you said, what are parting thoughts? But when you talked about the people on social, that it feels like they're keeping up, the first thing I thought of was people comparing their homes and one-upping their cars and one-upping their homes. And it never ends. There's always someone else with more, with better, with upgraded. And that is not the road to happiness. The road to happiness is in our hearts and in our minds, and being our best selves.
100%. So when I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Girl, being a wild woman is being your most authentic self. It's the wildest thing you can do anymore.
I love it. So English, where can people go to find you online?
Yes, please check me out at the English Aesthetic and send me a DM confidence, and I will send you my top tips on anti-aging. And I can't wait to see you there. Give me a follow.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.